Welcome to another edition of Comet Algebra. This video is for Algebra 1, Chapter 3, Section 4, the percent equation. Let's start with a couple terms. You're probably familiar with the word percent. Percent means the ratio of a number to 100. And did you know that the percent sign is sort of a weird looking 100? Like on your last science test when you got 95%. That means the ratio that you got correct was 95 out of 100. That's why this 1 and these two zeros kind of stand for the number 100. Percents can be expressed with a percent symbol that you're probably very familiar with. As a fraction, you just put the percent over 100 and then reduce it. This would reduce to 2/5. Or as a decimal, when it was 40%, if you remember, you divide by 100, or you might think of it as moving the decimal over twice to get the 0.4. So you need to be very fluent moving back and forth from a decimal to a percent to a decimal, into fraction if necessary. So now the percent equation. The percent times the total equals the part. Or another way to write that, percent equals part over total. And this should be familiar to you. If you got, for instance, if you got 18 right on a quiz out of 20, the part that you got right goes on top over the total points in the quiz. And then you would divide that to find what the percent is that you received on the quiz. So in this particular example, if you divide that, you would get 90%. When we're reading these percent problems, I wanted to remind you that the word is, when we're translating it from words into math, means equal, and the word of means that you are multiplying. Please memorize this, know this, because we're going to use it a lot. This first example is just converting between the different forms. It asks us to write 135% as a fraction. So we put 135 over 100 and reduce it. And this reduces to 27 over 20. And we're also asked to write this as a decimal. Well, remember, you divide by 100 or move the decimal over twice, and that would become 1.35. If we're given a fraction and asked to write the fraction as a decimal, remember earlier we learned that we divide 3 divided by 5. So if you punch that in, 3 divided by 5, on your calculator you would get 0.6. And then if we're asked to write that as a percent, we multiply by 100, and that would be 60%. If you're given a number that's in a decimal and asked to write it as a percent, you multiply by 100, so this would become 155%. And if we're asked to write that as a fraction, again, we put it over 100 and reduce it, which is 31 over 20. So again, you need to be able to move between all three of these forms very quickly and easily. Next example, we're going to write a percent equation and solve it. So we need to translate this from words into algebra. So please recall the word of means multiply, and the word is means equal. So what percent, that's going to be our x. And we need to take note that our x, we are asked to find a percent. So I take x times, because the word of means times, 85 is means equals 17. So now to solve, we would divide both sides by 85, which gives us x equals 0.2. But remember, we were asked to find a percent. So I need to change that to a percent for a final answer of 20%. Now let's convert this part B here into an equation. The word what is the x. The word is means equals. 45%, we need to change that into a decimal to bring it over to our equation. 45% becomes 0.45. The word of means multiplying, so I'm going to multiply that by 236. And this gives us an answer of 106.2. Letter C has the x in the different place here. So we'll get all three of these types. So again, to convert from words into algebra, 78. The word is means equal. 130% written as a decimal is 1.3. The word of means multiply, and what number here is our x, so times x. To solve, of course, we're going to divide both sides by 1.3, and this gives us that x equals 60. In example 3, we're asked to find how many gallons of 2% milk does it take to get 1 gallon of butterfat? So not very much of 2% milk is butterfat, just a tiny 2% of it. So we're going to need a lot of gallons to get 1 gallon of straight butterfat. So what we want to do is convert this, or kind of rewrite it, or think of it like that previous example we did. Like 10% of what number is x. So to rephrase this, we are looking for 2% of what number, because we don't know how many we need altogether here. So 2% of what number is 1 gallon. So when I restate the word problem like this, using the words of and is, it becomes much easier. This word of becomes the multiplier, or multiply sign, I should say. This word is becomes the equal sign. What number is the x? And we take the 2%, remember, and we write it as a decimal, so move that over two places. So it becomes 0.02 times, because the word of means times x, is equal, and we want 1 gallon. So to solve this, we're going to divide both sides by 0.02, and we get that x is 50. So the answer then, how many gallons? It would take 50 gallons of 2% milk to get 1 gallon of butterfat. So let's try our method of restating the percent equation in these examples. So we're supposed to do some basketball statistics for example 4. Find the number of foul shots or free throws he made if he made 60% of 60 total shots. So the way I would rephrase that is that 60% of the 60 total shots is what? And remember, we always want to use the words of and is, because that sets up our equation for us. So again, 60% is 0.6. Of is our multiply, times 60. Is our equal, and I'll just call it x. So if we go ahead and multiply those, we would get 36 free throw shots. All right, part B, we're asked to find the number of three-pointers Ryan made if he made 21 three-point shots and he was shooting 35%. So again, just to restate it, 35% of what, or of x, is 21. Again, writing the equation, 35% becomes 0.35. Of is multiply, so times x. Is equal 21. So we would divide to solve this, divide both sides by 0.35. And if I divided that correctly, I got 60. So that means that he took, or he attempted 60 3-point shots. Okay, the last stat we're supposed to find is his number of 2-point shots if he made 87 of 196 shots. So we would say 87 is what percent of the 196? Again, keeping track now that we are asked for percent, so we're going to have to make sure we change that in our answer. So 87, the is the equal sign, x is the what percent, times 196. So if we divide both sides by 196, we would get x equals 0.44387. And again, we are asked for percent, so we change that to a percent by moving the decimal over twice. And I'm going to round off to the nearest tenth to get 44.4%. So that's how many, his percentage of 2-point shots that he made. All right, now you should have the knowledge you need to do section 3.4, so have fun with math.